into my mouth. Anyway, hold on a sec. I gotta do social media stuff real quick. You know, when we get big time at some point, I'll do this beforehand. I'll do this. All right, cool. So today's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of introspection, and you guys are gonna get a glimpse of just how horrible I treat myself mentally every single day. But it's gonna be important. It's worth it. I think it's valuable. I think it's important, and that's kind of all that matters. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I am going to talk about something that was really important to me that, you know, helped me understand some things about what I've done in this game for a long time. This is my 7th year, so I've been 6 years into this thing, which is kind of weird because I never, 6 years doesn't seem like a lot because if you're a college kid and you start playing your freshman year, so I'm like 2 years into, if I was on the typical track, I'd be 2 years into my club career, which is very young. But yeah, 6 years into this same game, competing against the same people, against world-class people, and apparently it paid off a little bit.
6 years doesn't seem...
Paid off a little bit. Obsession with trying to win paid off a little bit. Not gonna say a ton of it did. Anyway, I need to see something because on my... Yep, as I suspected, my Streamlabs is so stupid. Everything is like super glitched out. Like it's super pixelated on my end. But when I look at the actual stream itself, it's crystal clear. So, yeah, it's dumb. I'm going to scoop my camera up a little bit so the team... Yeah, there we go. The height of my head was interfering with the reaction thing. Sorry. Let me get these tweets out real quick. By the way, shout out to the newest safecracker out there in the game, Zaina B, out here following us when we're offline last week when we didn't do any shows past the challenge episode because we had probably the biggest tournament next to nationals for the regular season coming up. So didn't get a chance to do that, had to get ready. And actually, as a matter of fact, it's a good thing I didn't do any streams, or else I probably would have been one of those people that fucking left. So the tournament was in New Orleans, which I'm in Houston, Texas, so it's like a 5-hour drive. It's not that bad, but it's bad when you leave at 8 o'clock. Because we didn't get to the Airbnb until like way late, and that was on me for sure. We did get Whataburger on the way though. Turned out that would be the only meal that I would eat on Saturday. I ate 2 bagels. Shout out to whoever left the bagels in the Airbnb. I owe you 2. Just like hit me up or whatever. Anyway, love my team, love my squad. They made it awesome as usual, man. And it was super dope. Sorry, I'm trying to get these tweets off, man. Trying to get these tweets off, baby, so we can get this here traction going. Also, really bummed out that Streamlabs got rid of my multi-stream. Oh wow, and I got a Twitter bomb on it. This is just meant to be. Exactly the number of characters that I needed. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Anybody know? OBS got rid of my fucking multi-stream chat. So I have to have all the chat windows open to be able to see what people are sending to me, which sucks because it slows down my computer. Not a lot, but it does slow down my computer. Luckily my friends built me a computer that's actually pretty good, apparently. Well worth the $3,000 I spent on it. Shout out. Let me see. I'm trying to get to my live stream. By the way, the most difficult thing on the face of the planet for me personally right now is finding my Facebook live stream. There we go. I will like to also point out before we get started, I will be just kind of freeballing it. There's no set schedule here. I'm just going to retell the entirety of my day until the end of the tryout because there was a lot of things that happened that were not important necessarily to me, but were important overall because I don't know if it's okay to reveal who got to the private session, but I'm going to do it and hopefully Amanda Dallas doesn't strike me down. Literally strike me down with lightning. She was doing her thing. I saw at one point I thought Dallas was concussed at the tournament, and not surprisingly enough, she kept on trucking, as most ladies do in this sport. When they get hit in the head or by a person, they typically tend to be on the tougher end of all the human beings who play this weird sport. Anyway, I got some music because my brain works better when I intro an episode with music. So we're going to do that. This is Beyond the Clearing by Christina Gukas, who is one of my teammates for SWA. In case you're wondering what that logo is down in the bottom right corner, that's my team logo. Check it out. What is up, everyone? I'm Ashton G. Lewis. We're taking a slight deviation from the typical sports content you find here wherever you're watching. Some of you watching on Facebook, some of you watching on Twitch at Broke Boy Sports, or some of you watching on YouTube at Broke Boy Sports. And typically, we talk about the challenge, and we talk about other mainstream major sports in America. Today, we're going to be talking about a not-so-mainstream sport, but one that is very important to me. It's mainstream in my life. It's super important for me overall. I enjoy it a bunch, and I've been playing for, well, this is my 7th season of playing. So we're here to talk about a little quad ball. We're the sport formerly known as Quidditch. So last week I didn't do episodes, right? I didn't do any episodes other than the challenge episode of the show. What the hell just happened? Oh, the chat box is open. Sorry. Somebody just wrote on Twitch that you remind me of Zion Williamson. I don't know who that is, but my guy, I can tell you this right now. I do not have a 122-inch vertical, so I appreciate that. And, he's a good-looking guy, I appreciate that, whoever that is that just dropped in. What is that? Dalwinder Singh? Shout out to you for a nice compliment to start off the show. Got me completely knocked off. Anyway, going back to what we're talking about, I had a tournament this past weekend. It is called Crescent City Invitational. Go follow them on Twitter. Just type in Crescent City Invitational if you're a quad ball player. It should be your number one destination during the if your team is starting to try and figure out their schedule for next year, which would be insane if you're trying to figure out your schedule for not the second half of the season, but next season. Crescent City Invitational has to be at the top, along with like HVI, Heroes versus Villains, and stuff like that. 100% amazing. Love all the people who do it. Shout out Sarah Yafnovsky. Shout out Melanie. Shout out Josh. Shout out Sudi, who went out there and made it happen. And the rest of the Gulf Coast Quidditch Association, or Quadball Association, I believe is the full name of it. They went out there and they put on an absolutely fantastic event where they had some of the best club teams and one college team. Shout out Florida State. I know there was a little miscommunication about a tweet that I put out about Florida State quad ball, but shout out to Florida State. Shout out Crescentinho. I don't know what that is, but shout out. Shout out to Florida State quad ball for coming up from Florida to play in a tournament that literally was only club players. So only high level, or I wouldn't even say high level, only adults who've been playing this sport for a very long time, who train for this sport on a regular basis. Shout out to a bunch of college kids coming out there and left with a dub, by the way. Left with a win. Shout out. Shout out everybody who also made it a fantastic day for me. It's always good to see everybody. And with that being said, the tournament was on a Saturday. Sunday, going into the week, I knew that there was a tryout camp for quad ball, and this is a World Cup year for quad ball. The World Cup is going to be in Richmond. It's actually going to be the weekend of my birthday. So July 14th through the 15th, Team USA, and I don't know how many other countries are showing up because it is in America, and America is like real dickish about people coming to America on a regular basis all willy-nilly because reasons. I don't have time to give a history lesson. But anyway, they have that going on. they have a Team USA Quadball tryout, right? There's going to be multiple camps. There was a camp, I want to say, at Oktoberfest, it's a tournament held in New York, hosted by the Warriors, a team that was at this tournament. Their head coach is the coach of Team USA Quadball. Anyway, Sunday rolls around. Saturday we played. We went 1-3. We ended the day on a comeback loss to Twin Cities. Shout out Twin Cities Quadball Club. It was pretty disappointing. They pulled the snitch, and it turned out to be the difference maker. We literally lost by 4, which is it was the snitch pull and 1 more goal. So it was a little heartbreaking for sure. It was frustrating for me personally. I scored 1 goal in the course of 4 games, and then of course there was a situation where, because of rotations, I didn't get back into one of the games multiple times. I played 1 game, and yeah, I didn't feel like I got enough playing time. And I'm just like every other player that's playing this sport, right? You train and you work hard to get better, and you feel like you deserve more playing time even when you're dead tired, right? So it was a little frustrating for me personally, but my team did perform well in pretty much every single game we played except versus Boom Train. Shout out Boom Train, a lot of good people on that team that I really enjoy as human beings, but we had a bad time versus those guys, and it kind of spiraled out of control a little bit. All the other games were winnable, and we just got to work on some stuff for a team that has literally not practiced with all of its main players together. We practice as 3 individual chapters in Oklahoma, Dallas, and Houston on a regular basis, and we have not yet practiced all together. We are looking very good. When we get more of these practices in, we are going to be ballers. We're going to be balling. I think a lot of people see that as well, and I'm really excited to be a part of a team, to be a small part of a team that's going out there and doing that. Sunday rolls around. I go to sleep, I think like at 2 a.m. or something, after I went out on Bourbon with my friends for a little bit. There was also a shooting like down the street from where I was on Bourbon. It was really weird. Got home after hanging out with the team and all that kind of stuff like that. Fell asleep on the couch. Well, fell asleep on one couch, a much smaller couch, and then rotated to a bigger couch that Jimmy was sleeping on, and then she left or whatever to go catch her flight back home. I wake up, it's pouring down rain, right? It's raining hard. Everybody anticipated the rain. It was even talked about in the tryout workout, in the tryout Facebook page or whatever, Facebook event, that there was going to be rain and you should be expecting rain. Woke up. Didn't think it was going to be that bad. It was coming down pretty hard. Like, it was coming down hard for a consistent, long period of time. One of the guys who's currently on Team USA was staying at our Airbnb. Shout out Jay Stewart, H-Town Hold It Down. He, he's crossing his fingers that, never mind. I'm not going to put him out there like that. He's crossing his fingers that maybe, just maybe, he doesn't have to go to this long-ass practice or whatever. Because for him, it was just a long practice because he's stupid good. He's not losing his spot, right? He's stupid good and he's not losing his spot. So like going to practice is, I'm sure he was looking forward to playing quad ball a bunch, but not at the cost of being covered in mud. Me, on the other hand, of course, I'm focused on just mentally preparing myself because I wake up and the first thing that immediately pops in my head when I see that rain is, I know one thing that is a major weakness for me in particular, because I'm pretty sure I weigh the most out of like every quad ball player on the planet. My primary weakness is soft playing surface. I would rather play like on concrete than play on a muddy surface, because so much of my game and so much of what I do typically is around power moves and the ability to drive forward, and that requires you to be able to plant your foot, establish stability, and keep running forward, right? And when you're in the mud, you can't do that. So I woke up, I mentally am trying to shift myself into nobody gives a shit about excuses, bro. Like, this is legitimately, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares that like this is what your game is and the environment's gonna be bad. Nobody cares. And so I'm telling myself that I start shifting my mindset from like, hey, maybe we drift away from using any of the power moves like the stiff arm. We drift away from running into the gap between the two top defenders on 2-2 zone and taking the impact and then trying to find a pass or take the shot, right? start drifting away from that, start thinking about using the few speed and agility moves that I have available that I've been working on and honing, and start, drifting towards those, because we're going to need to reduce the amount of contact we take throughout the course of the day, because we probably won't have the footing to be able to, one, quell the contact physically, and then two, continue to drive after we do take the contact because of the bad footing or playing surface, right? I'm riding through. I'm driving to the fields to go prepare, all kind of jazz like that. I show up, it's raining. In the attempt to mentally get myself tuned in and dialed up and stuff like that, I don't put my hood up on my hoodie, right? I'm like, you're gonna get wet. Might as well get wet now. Like the Bobby Hill meme from King of the Hill. I'm wet and I don't even know it, right? That's a real thing. So I got that going on for me. And it's working. Like, I'm starting to push it to the side. I get out of my car, right? I'm changing my socks because yesterday I wore some cleats that were terrible for my feet but looked cool. And then I switched to my Adidas shout out to the three stripe life. I switched to my Adidas cleats, my Adidas like high top cleats that I have that are much better and more comfortable, but don't look as cool as my Nike Alpha Reaction cleats or whatever. They're like linebacker cleats. Anyway, switching to those before I walk onto the field, because I know that I'm not going to be able to change my socks without them getting wet. And if there's one thing that I want to protect, learn that from Lieutenant Dan and watching Forrest Gump. Keep your socks dry, right? It's the number one thing for sure for a lot of people in general. I did not. I'm just going to, spoiler alert, later on in the day, did not keep them dry. But I did keep my mentality dialed in and focused on getting a dub, bro. Like going out here and playing the best, regardless of the situation. Playing the best game that I possibly could, right? Knowing that I wasn't going to be able to do that. Like, just flat out, I knew that the rain was going to affect the way that I perform. I did not care. My goal was by any means necessary to go out here and ball out of control, bro. Like, ball like I'm out of control on that one. So I show up. We pull up to the fields where we played CCI the day before, right? The same fields where we played before. There are multiple lakes on said field. So we're all just kind of like, are we just going to wait and then play mud Quidditch the entire day for this tryout or whatever? And I was like, cool, man. Like, good thing I brought my thick socks. You know what I mean? Like, everything that gets wet throughout the course of this, I'm cool with it or whatever, because I can just throw it in the back of my car while I'm driving home, and kind of is exactly what happened. Anyway, we're standing underneath the pavilion. I'm actually really grateful to the following people: Ashton, Brandon, Jose, Hayden was there. A lot of people that I know were there, right? Like, a lot of people who are like my teammates from this past summer, from League City Legends. Maya was there. Shout out Maya, and a couple other people too that I know. I know the people who are on Team USA, but like, I'm not like really close with them. Like, I don't have like I say hi to them and stuff like that, but like, they don't seek me out to have conversations, and that's just kind of how it's always been. Even though I play against all of them all the time or whatever, I talk like sports with them, right? Like, I don't talk like life or anything, and it's totally understandable. They're all like in their own separate little world, because everybody's always clamoring to talk to them because they're on Team USA and they're really good, and everybody wants to talk to them and all this kind of shit like that. I'm talking to the people that I talk to on a regular basis. Like, I go to Sam Houston State University. Shout out to the Bearcats, Division II national champs, soon to be Division I national champs this year. I talk to them on a regular basis just about like, like, I just talk to them on a regular basis. We're in the same group chats, we're in the same Snapchat groups, all that kind of stuff like that. And really, the underlying thing I want to mention here, like, this is a huge moment for my boy Hayden. Hayden is a guy who I thought for a long time should have been on the Team USA Developmental Academy roster. And I think a lot of other people agree too. And so he came all the way from Huntsville, which is an hour outside of Houston. He drove for the entire weekend to like come to this camp to seize his opportunity. And and Jose and Brandon and Ashton did too as well. But Hayden is the guy who's had like the national profile for a long time in terms of being a high level, like top tier college athlete, and really just athlete in general. You know what I mean? So this is it was a huge time for him. And I'm showing up. I changed my cleats. Amanda Dallas. Oh, sorry. I forgot. This is one moment that happened while I was walking in. I don't know how, but I ended up parked next to Jackson Johnson. And he gets out of the car. Amanda Dallas gets out of the car. Yada gets out of the car. he's kind of like looking around, right? Because he's just like all the other Team USA players. He's just like, I'm already on the team, so like me coming to this trial doesn't like really mean anything, right? So it would just be me running around in the mud. And Amanda Dallas says something. She's like, they're not canceling World Cup for rain. So why would we cancel the trial? And I was like, goddamn right. I don't really ain't no way around it. They not canceling shit for no rain, especially not World Cup. Just like I can't cancel, you know what I mean? So it was just like one of those things. I was like, good, everybody's got the right mentality in terms of like they're gonna try and make this happen as much as they possibly can. One point, the only thing that was stopping us from going out there and playing was the lightning strikes there in the area. Dallas said that they were using the Amanda Dallas, who is the co-founder and commissioner of Major League Quadball. She says that they're using the MLQ weather policy about lightning strikes, which is the typical policy most people abide by, where it's like every lightning strike is like 30 or 15 minutes, and if too many happen within the span of each other, they become like an hour-long break, right? She says that if there's too many strikes or whatever, everybody's going to get a refund and they're going to cancel a tryout, which is a big bummer for me. But I was also hoping that, like, man, New Orleans and Houston are similar in weather in a lot of sense, that, like, weather can go from, like, absolutely, like, shit hitting the fan to bright and sunny, right around noon or whatever when the sun gets up, right? Because it affects the clouds. So fingers crossed that that's happening. It's raining the whole time. I got my cleats on already after struggling because I doubled up my socks or whatever, which is a bad idea. Did that. They switched the location from one park to another park that's not as wet. Go to the new park. Still trying to maintain the mentality. Still trying to keep inside of my head and focus about everything that's going on, right? Like trying to push everything that's going on out of my mind that is not playing well. Anything that's not about playing well, I push out of my brain. Have a conversation with a couple of players walking towards the fields, and everybody's just kind of like, there's like this quiet air of everything around it. Like nobody's like really laughing or joking and as much or like super loud, right? And this may be me like zoning in pretty hard, right? And they have that going for them. Everybody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about this. Chilling out, talking about quadball a little bit, talking about the tournament yesterday. Shout out to the Warriors for getting a huge win over the reigning national champs in Texas Hill Country Heat, who played a really good tournament as well. And we've been lucky enough to actually play them already this season and kind of get like a measuring stick of where we're at. Anyway, walking towards the fields, everybody puts their gear down, set up the equipment. They do, and we get off to start, right? The first thing they do is like run two wide laps around the Quidditch pitch. And most of the theme for today is the fact that I did a bunch of stuff that I don't normally do at any practice I do at the club level, right? So case in point, warm-ups. I don't warm up by jogging a lap. Like I believe in conserving energy for sport related things, and this is going to actually circle into another issue, right? They run two laps around. I'm kind of like running at my own pace because there's people who are running like pretty quick. I'm like, I don't see the point in running fast or whatever. I'm just jogging around because everybody else is doing it. Trying to work on my foot striking, trying to get, oh man, hold on, just got a Facebook message. Trying to get my foot strike down, trying to get my running cycle, trying to get an understanding of how wet the field is, first of all, as well, and then get my strike down in terms of I've been working on this like religiously lately, in terms of attacking with the ball of my foot, using the entirety of the ball of my foot, not just the inside portion of it. Kicking off, running around or whatever. They run two laps. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of cut down on the second one. The second time they ran around, I saw JJ and a couple other people just kind of like go stand by the hoop line, and I was like, oh cool, so I'm gonna just slide on over here. Oh, that's right, I finished in front of everybody else, right? And other people were running to get in line. They made two big lines. They were doing warm-ups or whatever. People were doing warm-ups. They did a bunch of warm-ups that I've done before, which is cool. It was probably the only thing that I consistently do was the warm-up that they did leading up to it, is like water carriers and, high kicks and all kinds of shit like that. It's funny that we all come from different parts of the country, but all use the same exact dynamic warm-up to a certain degree. Anyway, we get a glimpse, first of many glimpses of my speed being nowhere near everybody else's. They have one where you do high knees and you sprint to the other side or you do 3 giant leaps, which is dynamic bounding warm-up, right? To work on full extension of your leg when you're running your sprints. You do 3 long bounds and then you take off and run as fast as you can. Obviously, your boy not very fast. That is the one thing that is definitively sure about me. I'm not very fast, and it could be and this is the problem too. Like, I don't know if I'm not fast because I'm fat or if I'm not fast because I'm not fast, right? I'm trying to find out at some point, because I will admit, when I was like 305 pounds, which was earlier, like 2 years ago or whatever, I was significantly faster than I was before. Anyway, moving on, we got other stuff we're talking about, right? So the warm-ups happen. They split everybody up into 4 different lines, and they run the most basic of basic, like the tryout is to understand if you know how to play offense, you know how to play defense, right? You're running the 4 lines, 4 chasers versus 2 beaters and a keeper, right? The keepers and the beaters are like Team USA caliber, and then they rotate people in and out throughout it. Everybody's getting tested on every single rep they do. I go through, there's no defenders in front of me, so at one point, I do what I consider to be one of the funner things to do. You just run directly at one of the beaters and see what they do. It was Tate K, I believe, in this particular situation, and I basically knew I had fucked up to a certain degree, because I was like, Tate's one of those people that, like, he's got a really good pump fake, right? So I'm running towards him. Tate almost gets me with one of his pump fakes or whatever, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He's not following through. And we kind of do like the tug of war thing, where I keep running towards him and I keep faking like I'm going to pass. He keeps faking like he's going to throw, a little bit back and forth. He finally has to throw the ball, or I'm going to be like right in front of the hoop and be able to score, pass the ball off. We score on that one, right? That was probably like the highlight of it. There was a couple other ones. Also, a couple of drops throughout the course of the day for me, mainly because like not focusing. Not focusing on the ball, focusing on the beaters and the positioning of the beaters, so that I know if I need to immediately pass once I touch it, which actually helped me out a bunch of times, but also resulted in me dropping the ball a couple of times as well. There's no excuse for the ball being wet for me to drop it. My hands are massive, right? Like, my hands are like gigantic. There's no reason for me to be like, oh, I'm going to drop the ball. We moved around a little bit. There was 2 groups going. So there was one group going to the right, starting from the middle, going to the right of the field, starting from the middle and going from the left was the second group. Everybody's kind of rotating through. Water break happens. I don't know how I'm doing at this point. Don't know how I'm feeling at this point. They come back. They name some people to go out there and play defense in the second portion of the tryout, where it's just half pitch play, right? Like, it's a half pitch full situation. It's 4 chasers, 2 beaters, and then a defense you're going up against. You have to figure out how to score on them. You do not have control, so you have to figure out the timing with these new beaters you've never played with in some cases, and then on top of that, figure out how to make clean passes to players that you've probably never played with before, right? No matter how athletic somebody is in general, you still got to figure out people's timing and pacing and stuff like that, especially if you want to throw anticipatory passes where the person's cutting towards the hoop. So I'm out here kind of moving the ball around a little bit, trying to figure out what to do. They're playing, nobody says anything about like what offensive formation we're running, which means that we're probably running the blob thing. We're running the blob thing where it's dependent upon the situation. You're kind of running box, but you're kind of running diamond. But everybody's moving around constantly, because a moving target is more difficult to hit than a still target. There's a couple of possessions where we don't score because of lack of communication. Keep that in mind. That comes up a little bit later. Anyway, things are going along, moving along or whatever. I'm rotating through the lines, all that kind of stuff like that. They're calling out different names for people to play defense, and I'm out there playing offense a little bit. We score, I want to say, in terms of like possessions that I was up for, I think we scored like 4 or 5 times in a row. It was cool, especially considering that the beaters had the decisive advantage in this situation, and you're going up against Team USA defenders, which is always difficult, right? So that's going on. That's going on while this is all going on, right? Water break happens again. They call out new people to play defense, and they call your boy's name. So I put on the red jersey, and then, I probably felt pretty good about what was going on offensively leading up to it, even though I had some moments where, like, my spacing was off. I had some moments where I didn't make the cleanest pass I possibly could have. I had some moments where I picked the wrong person. Like, the biggest offensive error I made was hands down. We were inside diamond formation, so there's me up top. I'm inside the keeper zone. There's somebody else in the bottom left corner, and then there's Andrew Axtell in the kind of in the mid back area, right? In a diamond formation, the 1 point person is up top, right? They're by themselves. First of all, that was the first error, right? Left that person who's up top with the ball by themselves so they can immediately get pressured. I get the ball from one of their passes, and I see beater pressure coming towards me. I push pass and skip the person who's in the back left corner who is safe from the beaters that I did not see cutting out towards Axtell. And I threw it to Axtell. He catches it, but there's a beater and a chaser there that I didn't register before I released the ball. And it was from they were tracking back from the ball being in the back left corner and then rotating back up to me. So that was my biggest error for sure, if you're able to visualize that. Playing defense, we're playing 2-2 zone with the keeper up top on the keeper zone line as opposed to the goal or the hoop line, right? I will admit, hands up, with the Cosmos and then with SWA have never, and those are the only two teams I've ever played for, I've never run the 2-2 keeper zone defense. The only way I know any information about that defense is, one, I've played against it, and then two, I've scouted it and watched it on film, right? Not 100% sure on every single rotation that happens, but I understand the concept of, guess what? No matter what, there's always a defender up, and you just need to go opposite of the keeper every single time, right? You're not returning to the same spot. You're never going to return to the same spot you were at before, and then if the ball goes behind, the person that's playing keeper, which is a chaser in that situation, extends off of the hoops and runs out there and plays defense. The person who is the back chaser, the only chaser that does not have, the only chaser now that is not a keeper in this situation. So there's a hoop defender on the small hoop, and then there's another defender, which is me in this situation, that's running free on the field. I'm now responsible for the hoops in that area, and then the keeper is responsible for everything else that's behind us, because that person can no longer be beat, so they can't set up the back cut that happens, right? The back cut that happens when the person who's the chaser turns his back from the front side of the play to the back side of the play. Anyway, I messed that up like a bunch, right? We get a bunch of stops because of some rotations. I'm moving slow as shit. I fuck up rotations because I'm trying to think too quickly, and I'm already slow as it is. So it makes me look even slower because not only am I thinking too much, like I'm thinking too much about where I'm supposed to be, and then I'm also running to the wrong spot, so I'm having to correct while I'm adjusting while I'm running to my spot. And there's a good chunk of, I'm not, okay. I think I did like 10 reps on defense. I think there was 2 where I was just kind of like moving to the open space and did not know where the quad ball was at the time because I got beat and then the ball moved immediately and I was trying to rotate around and all that kind of stuff like that. We get a bunch of stops, but there's definitely some massive gaps. It felt like some of the Team USA players were definitely holding back on things that they would typically score. Like I know for a fact, Augie caught the ball directly in front of me in front of the mid-size hoop and intentionally did not shoot on an open shot to see if I would come out there. I rotate out there. He moves the ball around. I know I got dunked on by Hayden at one point, because I wasn't looking back. I wasn't checking behind me while it was going on, right? I rotate through, did 10 reps, fucking gas doing 10 reps because they move at a much faster pace than any other defense that I've ever played. And they know all the rotations. So I bumped into multiple people at one time. One of our defensive stops, Ian Skura, who's the keeper chaser for Team USA, plays for Black Pandas. Shout out to the Black Pandas. They played really well on SECI too. But he's rotating over. He's got his hands up. Somebody shoots for a second. It's over Ian's hands, but my hand extended up to block it. But we were in the wrong spot. I rotated to defend the outside hoop, and Ian, because he's much faster than me, jumped to the same spot to defend a shot. The shot goes over. I flip it, and because it's just outside of Ian's range or reach or whatever, I flip it. We get the stop because I flipped it down into the ground, right? It looks like we got the result that we wanted, but it was because I fucked up, right? I fucked up the rotation. It's weird. That happens. I go play defense one time, and then I rotate back into the offense stuff, right? We play some more offense. They flip control from the defense, so the defense has two bludgers, and they flip control to the offense to have two bludgers. So this whole time, and this is one of those moments, this whole time we're playing this situation, right? I go up with Sammy Garza a couple of times, and I'm trying to move the ball around, trying to like, oh, look, I'm a good team player. I move the ball around, even though in my heart of hearts, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you've ever been an opponent, oh, hold on a second. Somebody just wrote a message. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up, Motherman X? Hopefully you're feeling better, man. I saw you tweeted about having COVID, the vid. But going back to what we were saying before, we're back on offense. I'm back on offense. Two beaters on offense, one beater on defense. Right. This is, if you're familiar with quad ball, this is for me personally, this is a layup. This is a bad situation for everybody that's on defense, and it's simply because the beater either has to throw the ball at me or the ball's going through the hoop. Like, that's just how it is when I have the ball in my hand. So we had a bunch of times where I was trying to move the ball around because I wanted everybody to be able to touch it because that looks good, right? Like, it looks good, and it's a way to guarantee it's a way to get closer to scoring better. Like, it's an idea of how to score more efficiently. But in actuality, I really wanted that ball in my hand and run through the defense and score. So, remember we talked about we agreed to not do that to ourselves earlier, but, things changed. By the way, this whole time we're in a literal mud pit, like straight up. At this point, this is like really late into the tryout. You're running around in mud. Like, my foot was sinking every time I tried to plant my foot. I got crossed up by Jay one time on one of the defensive reps because I tried to plant, and it went straight into mud. I over-rotated, and he made me pay for it immediately because, that's what fast people do, right? So that happened. The other thing that we got going on, what was I talking? Oh, right. Two bludgers on offense. We had a couple of situations. Me and Sammy throwing the ball back and forth. I'm like, cool. So I don't know, like, what do we want to do? I hold on to the ball because I'm like, all right, cool, man. So we're gonna do the thing where I carry the ball to the right hand side, make the defense like commit to me, and then kick it back up top because it creates a gap between the two defenders. I kicked it back to Sammy. He shot it immediately and scored. Right, like that basic stuff. Right, like typical basic play. Now, the other stuff that goes on, like at one point, Sammy tries to explain to me like basic stuff I know about, like 2-2 zone. I get it. And then I realize they want us to keep it simple. I realized like, oh, I can just hold on to the ball and run through. So I did that a couple of times, right? Like our beaters were not engaging the other singular beater in that play. And I was like, cool, man. Like, I actually don't need y'all to do that. So, don't need people to do that to be successful, right? Because it's literally you draw one beat and you pass the ball to somebody else and they score. Like, it's what it came down to. One of the times I get the ball up top, I drive middle. One of the defenders tries to tackle me. I slip past him. Ian rotates over to cover one of the hoops. I see the corner out of the corner of my eye, the beater about to throw at me because I'm too close to the hoop, right? I wait till Ian extends his arms up, and I'm like, cool. So now I know the maximum reach that he has in this situation because he hadn't squatted down to jump, because if he had done that, I would have been fucked. It would have floated the ball. Anyway, I throw it just out of his reach. Brandon catches it. Shout out to my boy Brandon Cubana, and finishes on the backside of that hoop, right? So we have another one where I get it on the far right-hand side. I drive in. I stiff arm the defender into the ground, and I get beat like half a second before I release. Another one where two people try and tackle me and I score again, right? Like, so we're doing stuff that I'm very familiar with, what I typically do, right? Like when I'm playing, I typically do these things when I have the opportunities to do them. I just didn't want to be an asshole and hold on to the ball the entirety of a fucking tryout when other people are trying to get opportunities to be successful, right? Because I could have very easily, like, the ball was coming to me immediately, right? And it was like, all right, cool, man. Like, I don't know what else to do. So I went out there, I took advantage of that opportunity and scored a bunch of times. Hopefully all the people who were on the same line as me that saw me do that don't hate me too much. I apologize for fucking you guys over. I really do. But I don't know. I apologize. If you got beef, you know where to find me. Please let me know. And I really am sorry from the bottom of my heart on that one, because I felt it was like a moment where I felt legitimately selfish, and I hate feeling like that because you don't want to take somebody's opportunity to be successful away from them. But That's what it felt like was happening. It kind of sucked a little bit, but we good. We did a good job on the offensive portion of things. We did a good job of making sure that when the bludger hit us, the ball was not in our hands and it was going to somebody who can do something with it. There was one time I got beat with the ball in my hand, and it was because a beater sprinted towards half pitch. And I saw them coming, but I was focused on the beater more than I was on the quad ball. I dropped it a little bit, and I had to scoop it towards, I think it was Luis Garza, who plays for Cav or whatever. And I think they ended up getting something out of it, but everything else is like really, you know what I mean? So another water break happens. I go to the side. I'm talking to everybody else, chatting everybody else up or whatever. Everybody's covered in mud at this point, right? Everybody's like legitimately just covered in mud. I'm lucky enough that it's only my knee down. Augie made a pretty good joke, I'm not gonna lie. I was in line, like it actually broke up the seriousness of the situation for me a little bit. Augie was in line. Or I was in line. Augie came over and he was like, "Hey, you got a little bit something right there," and he like touched the back of my calf, which, like, it was one spot of basically everything below my knee was covered in mud. It was pretty funny. It helped me break up the focus and also like start having a little bit of fun. Like I got to the point where I was like, "Yo, man, like you're being like real serious about this or whatever." And I hadn't said anything to all the younger guys that I coached this past summer for Legends throughout the course of this tryout. And I was like, "Yo, man, you gotta clap them up. You gotta cheer them up, kind of deal, man. Like not cheer them up, but like you gotta support people, man. Like we're all like they're trying to." Play at a super high level today too, and it would help a lot if somebody would be nice and like everybody. Like there have been people who have been very kind to me in situations where they didn't have to be, and I need to return that favor because it helps me play better. It gives me a little bit more confidence, and confidence goes a long way, man. As you can tell as we talk about this afterwards, right? So I'm playing. We're in a water break. They go to a section. By the way, the sun finally comes out and it starts kind of drying the field. But the fact of the matter is the water that was in the mud that was on the balls gets dry. And so it actually makes the ball better to grip, but it doesn't change the fact that both of the keeper zones in the hoop area is just a giant mud pit, right? So the ball lands in those areas and it doesn't move. It like sticks to the ground. So it's one of those type of mud pit situations. They call out names for a scrimmage. I didn't hear my name for a second because I was drinking water and probably talking to somebody. They called me. I'm on one side with Logan, Andrew Axtell, and a couple other people that I'm not familiar with. They were out of region. One of the young ladies, hold on. Somebody just wrote something on. Yeah, it was crazy. The mud was actually insane. The mud was insane, honestly, bro. Like it really was. But no excuses, baby. No excuses. After a certain, I will admit, at least the mud was consistent. That was my biggest thing. The mud was consistently the same at every spot. I will say the other side, the opposite side of the field where I was at, felt like their mud was a lot more prevalent, and it probably because they had more people get reps on that side. Anyway, they call out scrimmages. I'm going out there with Logan. Axe, and like a couple other people. I think Ian is also out there, and I'm trying to remember who our beaters were. I'm not gonna lie, our beaters were rotating so much, man. Our beaters were rotating so much that I couldn't keep track of all of them. I know a couple of beaters, right? Like I know my guy Baldy was there. Shout out Team Mexico. I saw Daniel Williams, but there was they were rotating everybody in through so quickly. I just stopped focusing on the beaters because I knew that the beaters winning is not a dictator of whether we as chasers can be successful, right? Yes, there are bad situations you can get into, but you can't get caught up in like, oh, we have good beaters, we have bad beaters, right? It has to be like, you got to do your job and do your part. So scrimmage happens. This is when it all goes sideways, by the way. So I am scrimmaging. We go down the first rep on offense. We start off kind of looking at box, kind of looking like box, and then I realize, we're going up against 2-2 zone. We just need to rotate we need to over-rotate and overload one part of the zone. So we end up in side diamond. Axtell gets the ball, passes it to me. I'm hanging up here, and I'm looking at who walks over to me, and it looked like, in my view, 2 people ran at me. And I was like, oh, snap. All I got to do is get the ball to Axtell, and he can cut in, kick it to Logan, and it's a score. So I kick it over. Nobody rotates to Axel, nobody rotates to Axel, I don't think. They all cut. They turn their back. He kicks it further down to the bottom, or to the bottom left corner, or to the left of him, which is Logan Zahn at this point. I'm like, oh, no way is this about to work. Everybody's got their back turned to me. A beater is about to throw at Logan. And I'm like, yo, this is an alley-oop. I run towards him and I point up in the air like this. And I'm like, yep, he throws it up. He actually makes the better pass decision. Instead of throwing it over the small hoop and the hoop defender, which probably would have got tipped by her because she showed her reach was like way longer than I would have thought, really late into the defensive rep. And so he threw it to the side of her hands after she showed her hands. I don't catch it. I push it forward. I scoop underneath it, and it's like, so it's parallel to the hoop right here, right? The quad ball is parallel to the hoop right here. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we know what to do. We scoop, and we know that this hoop defender's first move is going to be a step towards you, Ashton, because she thinks she has a chance to get the ball. And this is one of the few moments in this entire scrimmage that I felt like kind of fast. She steps towards me, and I'm like, oh, I just got to hook around. Somebody hit me. I think somebody came up, tackled me. It wasn't enough. I knew it wasn't enough. Like, you can feel when somebody's first impact knocks you off balance. It wasn't enough. They were slipping down towards my waist, and I'm like, cool, I'm about to hook shot this, right? And then Tyler Trudeau wraps me as I'm stepping, or as I'm pivoting on my right foot. As I'm pivoting, turn, I know the ball went through. Like, I know the ball went through the hoop or whatever. There's like the hoop defender's trying to block me. There's two guys trying to tackle me. And I'm like, cool, I know that goal is going through. And what happens at the last second is I finally get got. Tyler, I thought somebody was directly in front of my foot on the ground, and so I didn't take another step to balance myself because I was like, I might step on somebody's face or something or whatever. Tyler's got me wrapped up, and I'm like, cool, so I'm going to just go down because we already scored or whatever, and I land face first in a gigantic pile of mud, and I finally get it. Like, for a good chunk of this entire thing, it's my knee down that's covered in mud. My socks, my cleats. I still haven't cleaned my cleats, by the way. The socks I put in the washer. They probably still have some dirt on them. I'm not even going to lie. I finally get got. I'm face down in the mud. I wore a white mesh. Actually, hold on. Let me see. It's right here. Hold on. I'm going to go get it real quick. All right, so this shirt is this is a jersey, right? It's mesh. It says Freak with the Nike check mark on it in these weird colors because this is from Giannis Antetokounmpo's first collaboration line with Nike, obviously, right? Like he has his signature shoe with them, so they have like clothes that go along with the signature shoe. You can see this is like a white mesh material. It's actually really thick mesh and it's also super awesome. I play basketball in this on a regular basis, but anyway, I land face first in that, right? And the only thing I have underneath, ironically enough, I have been hunting these shirts. So it's a Saints shirt, but this material is it's an undershirt that NFL football players wear, and I've seen them wear it on TV when they don't have their pads on or whatever. And I saw one in a Marshalls like 4 years ago, and I've been hunting for more of them ever since. Found a bunch of them at the Nike clearance store here in Houston. And I just buy them every single time I go in there. They're like $20 there, but like online, I can't find a store that actually sells these shirts. So I'm wondering how they ended up in the clearance store and ended up at Marshall's. That means that they get sold at some place somewhere. They're great undershirts. They're fantastic. They breathe really well. They're not super tight in terms of dry fit or whatever. And they're crazy stretchy. They're the shirts that when you see NFL players get their shirts pulled and it's like 5 yards, the shirt is like 5 yards away from where the player is. They're these shirts that I'm wearing right now. I had one of those underneath that jersey. Anyway, it all got covered in mud and I finally got. I get up and I start running back and I realize there's something wrong with my right leg. I run back to get back on defense. We get a stop. I catch a deflection off of a shot. Throw it to Ian, and then I try and turn on my right foot to run, and your boy gets pain up his leg that I honestly have never felt in my entire life, and so I go down to one leg. I go down on one knee. I think Nathan Digman pauses it, and pauses the scrimmage, and I'm like grabbing because the pain is, yes, it's in my Achilles, but in particular it's on the side muscle tendons that support my Achilles that go up the side of my leg, and the pain is from the front. So if this is my foot, it's from the ball of my foot pushing off for me to be able to sprint, which I had been doing all day, right? And all day yesterday as well. It hurt to the point where if I continued in this scrimmage, I was probably going to embarrass myself. And at this point, in my mind, obviously because I'm a pessimist when it comes to like my skill level and what I'm capable of doing, I just assumed that I wasn't making the cut because I was like, man, ain't nobody come up and talk to me at all during this tryout. And I'm assuming they already picked the people who were going to be invited to the private session or whatever. I'm out there competing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just go out there and ball, do my thing in the scrimmage. The scrimmage is going to be fun. I score that goal. We get one defensive stop, and I go back and, can't continue. Like I hobble off the field. I try and stretch it a little bit. I keep walking around because I know from experience that if I stop, I won't be able to bend. I won't be able to like push off my foot. Like my ankle will be fine, but I won't be able to push off my foot. Anyway, that happens. I'm talking to my friends. One, trying not to cry. Like I was bent over, like with my head down on the field, grabbing my ankle, and I put my head down mainly because I was about to cry, not from the pain, but because if there was any shot that I had of making Team USA, it had gone down the drain because I had hurt my leg. And I was already a pretty long shot in my own opinion, but I still had faith in myself. I still believed in myself to an umpteenth degree, and I felt like I had done pretty well, except in the defensive portion. Like I mentioned before, I detailed all the fuck-ups that I had. And yeah, man, that's how my tryout ended. Me hurt on the sideline. But I did stick around to watch something. And I wanted to wait until afterwards to congratulate him. But to my boy Hayden Boys went out there and did his fucking thing, bro. Got invited to the private session. And I think it goes without saying, if you talk to anybody in the Southwest, they know that Hayden is elite. They know that Hayden is that kind of elite. And to see him finally get his chance to shine was fucking amazing. I love it, man. Shout out to my girl Mel Kite too. Shout out to my girl Mel Kite doing her thing. Got invited to the private session, and congratulations to everybody who competed at all. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. Hayden balled the fuck out. He looked like he belonged there, right? Like he looks like a guy who, if you didn't know that he wasn't on Team USA, you'd be surprised, which is where I'm at. So, but yeah, Hayden, shout out to him. Shout out to the man himself, bro. My tryout, my tryout ended on a highlight that I thought was going to happen anyway. That was really, it was good to see that it was actually that, I'm like not kidding. When I saw Hayden sticking around afterwards, when I saw Hayden sticking around, I went up and talked to him. I was like, you got the invite, let's go. And I'm like super pumped for him because, like, they're telling everybody to leave immediately. And I totally get it. And I sit back and I'm just like, dude, for that moment, like when I found out that my boy had gotten it, he was in like he should be, I was done. Like I was like, today is a win. Like I know it's Hayden's win, but it felt like I won because but yeah, man, like I forgot like everything that I fucked up about because I was just like so fucking excited for Hayden. Like I was so pumped for my guy, man. And yeah, Mel Kite, shout out to Mel Kite. That is not surprising to me. Mel has been good for a very, very long time, and she plays multiple positions now. Like she plays beater and she plays chaser, and she's a deadly chaser. She's getting even better at beater every single time I see her play, and it's not surprising. Team USA, Team USA knows where the real talent's at. They went out and got some of the best in the game. But yeah, it was amazing. It really was, man. It was super dope for me, and for everybody else that got to stick around too. It was a lot of young, talented players, but to see those two in particular, people that I basically like, I think me and Hayden have played the same number of years of Quidditch, or pretty close to it, because I think he's in his 5th year. So I'm in my 7th, but this is my 7th, which means I think I've played only one more year than he has, or 1.5 more years than he has. But to see your friends, to see people that you respect, to see people that be grinding all the time, and people that you know are top tier, who care about this game, who care about getting better, who care about their teammates too, people who very easily could say that they should be the center of attention, they should be the focal point that their team runs off of, and choose, and it's an active choice. They choose to be great teammates, not good ones. It is amazing to see them finally get their respect. And shout out to my boy Hayden. I'm gonna keep saying that shit, bro. I don't give a fuck. Dude, so fucking pumped, bro. Pumped for Kite too, man. I messaged her afterwards, and obviously she's the enemy because she's on the Heat, and but nonetheless, super proud of her. She's one of many great players to come out of Texas State, and yeah, man. So, but yeah, that was my experience. Oh, I forgot the other part. So there's the post part of everything, right? Everything goes on. The tryout happens. I don't really know like what people saw out of me, right? I have a very nasty tendency of thinking that I'm doing something on the field or thinking I look a certain way when I'm doing something on the field, and then and then not looking like that at all. Like, I've seen it on film 1,000,001 times, thinking that I'm moving crazy fast and I'm moving like molasses, like in comparison to everybody else. Did I get bit by ants? So I think so first of all, my warm-up line was lined up with one of the biggest ant hills, and I just want to say, everybody owes me a thank you. I fucking smashed the shit out that anthill, bro. It first of all was mud, and it took me a second to realize it was a giant anthill. I've been smashed. I went up and down the field and smashed it like multiple times smashed it like multiple times in the process. It got like at least 2 of my lunge steps. You know what I mean? Like, it got the big oomph lunge on it, and fuck those ants. But yeah, I did not get bitten by ants, I don't think. I do remember at one point my left leg was like crazy itchy during one of the sessions, but it was only my left leg. So I think it may have been just the mud, but I did my part. I went out there and I held it down for everybody else. I did my part in killing the ants. Shout out to the, fuck those ants, even though, we showed up at their house and then fucked their shit up. Oh, by the way, shout out to New Orleans. I don't know who's in charge of like trying to figure out how to fix what happened to that park, but sorry. That field is donezo, my guy. Anyway, post tryout stuff. So I went up and I was like, I talked to JJ, who I've been teammates with and I'm cool with or whatever. I talk to him on a regular basis about dumb shit. He's Josh Johnson, sorry. Plays for Team USA Developmental Academy, about to be the next Captain America, no doubt. Went up and talked to him and I was like, hey bro, who do you think I should talk to about like getting like some critiques or like some like, if they wrote any notes about people down or whatever, who do you think I should talk to about getting that information from somebody? Because at this point, like, obviously I know I'm not invited to the private session, and it probably means like, and I know it means I'm not even on the radar for Team USA, right? Because I'm not at the private session. If they were even somewhat interested, they probably would have had me at the private session. But, and then of course I was hurt too, so it was dumb. Anyway, I'm trying to get information so I can figure out how to get better, right? I know I got to lose weight. No, I got to get faster. But I need information on, like, tangible things, like Quidditch-wise I need to improve on to get better. And JJ was like, oh, yeah, man, like, you should ask y'all, you should ask Augie, right? I'm like, cool, man, yeah. I've asked Augie for advice before about how to get better. I knew I was going to ask Axtell because I spent most of the day, like, on getting reps with Axe. Throughout the course of it, I knew I was going to ask Ian because he was the keeper most of the time that I was playing, so he had to focus on like what we were doing to be able to determine what he was going to do next. But I just wanted to read off some of the stuff that I got from other people. Anyway, let me see. So I asked Augie. Hopefully he's okay with me reading what he said. He didn't say anything like specific or anything like that, but he said biggest thing I have for you is to communicate, which is it was brought up twice, so it's a big problem. When working from trees on defense, it's incredibly helpful to call things out in a proactive sense, i.e. if the ball goes back, I got it. I'd encourage you to emulate how Tyler Trudeau plays off ball. His biggest strength, in my opinion, is the way he times and makes cuts coming in from the wings. As a defender at hoops, it's tough to stop him once he has some speed behind him, and I feel like you could be a menace in the same manner. So I told him thank you for that because, he doesn't have to respond or whatever, and I appreciate it. I know a bunch of people talk to Augie all the fucking time about Quidditch or about quad ball all the time. So for him to take some time out of his day to respond and give me some advice, I really appreciate it a lot, actually. And I took it to heart. And I actually wrote it all down, and it's stuff that I'm going to focus on this weekend in my joint practice. So I messaged Axel, and he said, yeah, I don't have a ton of direct feedback. I can only pay attention when we were on defense together, which is true, which is actually what I wanted, like legitimately. I wanted that information more so than anything. But in that, I would say you need to work on solid defensive fundamentals, specifically positioning and rotations. You need to get better as an on-ball defender with your positioning. We try and work the offensive player down the side, so being capable of doing that is good. And then rotation should be crisp, and you need to fill in quicker after being beat. So the way I took this is, one, just got to be faster overall on defense, man. Got to be fast. Got to get the speed up. Got to move better. Sorry, somebody's calling me unnecessarily, and it's a scam. Anyway, so I took that as you got to be faster with your rotations and stuff like that. He was right. I mentioned before how I was talking about how I really struggled mentally with some of the stuff that I was calculating, right? I was trying to figure out rotations naturally as opposed to what I should have been doing, which is like listening to people. I was just trying to make sure that I was constantly moving when I was on defense. And like I said before, I talked to JJ about who to talk to about getting some critiques and advice, right? And JJ gave me his perspective on me. He was just like, yo, your offense was on point. Your offense was great. Your defense is where it was lacking, which is true. I was running slow. I'm already slow. And I like man-to-man defense is where I struggle for sure, because I'm not fast. So I that's why if you've ever seen any of my workout videos on Instagram, on quad gains or whatever, or any facet of it, those agility drills, they're not to work on offense. They're literally to improve how I dissipate power through my body to be able to move to play defense. They're an attempt to increase my defensive range, right? And clearly that is the thing that I had to work on a shit ton. I had to increase my defensive range, had to get better. Guess what, guys? After this tryout, even if I gotten everything that I wanted in terms of like getting to the private session and getting to the point where, people are assessing my skill level, I would still be trying to get better, right? That happened. The defensive part of it, I appreciate this advice from Axel. This is a guy who the only thing I've ever really talked about Axel about was like Michigan football. He did not have to do this. And he went out of his way. He gave me a really detailed perception of me to him. And I appreciate that a ton. Especially the honesty, man. Like, it's so hard to get people to be honest about, hey, man, you're too fucking slow. You know what I mean? I appreciate that a ton, actually. And I take it to heart. And I don't take it as an insult. I take it as a fact. I know I'm slow. I just need somebody to be like, yeah, dude, like, you're slow. Don't try to act like you're not. But yeah, that I appreciate Axel. I reached out to Yada for some advice. I reached out to Amanda Dallas to see if she had written down any notes, because she's a part of the selection committee too, so I assumed that she was writing stuff down and giving some takes. If you are a Team USA player and you have any other notes about how I can improve, please hit me up wherever you can find me, on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of shit like that, man. But overall, I felt like shit after. I always feel like shit, and like it was literally the only way I was gonna feel good is they were like, hey, man, like, can't wait for you to be on Team USA. You know what I mean? Like, that was the only way I was going to feel good. The other way, any other result other than success, I was going to feel like shit. So I thought I did a terrible job. I thought I looked horrible throughout the course of the day. Obviously, that's from over-analysis of myself and for everybody else, right? I appreciate everybody who said something positive of me, because there was a couple of Team USA players who gave me some compliments, and I could not figure out who the fuck it was while we were in the moment, and I didn't walk past them, right? Like, I don't know who it was, but it was like one of those moments where I was like, damn, dude, I really wish I could say thank you. There was other players who said nice things as well too, and it was just difficult in the moment to figure out who was saying what, because I'm not familiar with everybody and their voices on a regular basis. I see a lot of people on Instagram. I don't know what their voices sound like sometimes, but yeah, that was it. I drove home. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, told her what happened because she wanted to know, and she kind of, asked me how it went, and then I went on like a long diatribe while I was filling up my gas tank, and it ended up with me being like, nah, dude, I did all right today. I had to like convince myself that I did all right. And then after the fact, I started thinking about things that were going on at the tryout and things that were kind of shaking up a little bit, right? So I realized something, and this is really weird. I realized something that not everybody got to play defense. Not everybody was like rotated in on defense. Like I remember Hayden getting his name called in for the first group of defensive players, right? Like that, I was like, oh yeah, like that must be important if Hayden is doing it, because like I just assume, they knew what time it was when Hayden showed up, right? It was one of those moments where I was like, oh yeah, like I get it, They're picking people who are good, who I thought they were picking people who had like locked into the next group of people. And then I got to the point where I got so fucking tired that I didn't process that not everybody played defense throughout the course of the tryout. Not everybody got rotated in on defense. And it must have been, and somebody who's out there who knows much better than I do, please tell me if I'm delusional in my thoughts of this. But I thought that if they let you play defense, it meant that they were like looking to see more from you, right? And that really got me charged up, right? Because I was like, damn, dude, I'm out here. I didn't think about it because I was so fucking tired, right? Like at the moment, I was exhausted because it takes so much energy to be able to play defense at that level and to play offense too, because I was moving around a bunch to try and mimic a different offensive style than what I'm accustomed to on a regular basis. But yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until afterwards. I texted Hayden and I was like, hey, bro, like, did everybody play defense? And he was like, nah, dude, like, everybody didn't play defense or whatever. And I was like, oh, it must have been like an eliminator, right? Like, it must have been like, if they didn't let you play defense, they had seen enough or something like that. And then I asked about the scrimmage. I asked Logan about the scrimmage, and I asked Logan about the scrimmage like last night. And I was like, hey man, did everybody scrimmage? And he was like, it was like a mixed bag. Like some people scrimmaged a bunch, or like some people got multiple looks in the scrimmage, and then some people got like one, right? And that was going on, and I had already spaced out because I was like, I done fucked up. I don't know. Like I remember I got hurt like literally on the second play of the first scrimmage, so I was like zoned out. I was really trying, like I said before, trying to avoid crying from how much that shit hurt, because it's literally like years of training just got like thrown down the drain. And then I thought about it like over and over again, and I legitimately just want a straight answer, man. Like I literally want to ask like whoever was in charge of like selecting people to go on to the next round, like where I stacked up in that tryout, because like the scrimmage thing made me feel like maybe just, and then of course the people I was on the field with, like I was on the fucking field with Logan, like I was on the fucking field with Axe and stuff like that, and I was like, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that means something, because both of them are really good, and to me, like, I think Logan's on his Team USA caliber, but what do I fucking know? I'm just a guy, right? I think he's like an elite player in this game. Take that for sure, but I didn't know. I couldn't figure it out based off of just the scrimmage alone, but it really felt like if you play defense or not was like a line of, and I don't know if they only rotated certain people on to play defense because of whatever reason, but yeah, it was like Hayden said something, I think like if you didn't play defense, like the only people that got invited to the private session were people who didn't, you had to play offense and defense to get invited to the private session. He didn't say that was a requirement, but he said that he saw nobody who did. There was not a single person who only played offense in the first portion of the tryout that got invited to the private session. So, and then of course, like all of the feedback from me was on the defensive side. Like JJ said it, Augie said it, Axe said it, because it was the only time that he like really thought, was really focused on what I was doing because it was affecting him, right? It was one of those things, man. It felt, I don't know. and it's still like kind of up in the air. Like I reached out to Yada, I reached out to Dallas for some advice as well to see if they had any notes that they had written down. I understand that they're busy. Everybody's busy. They also don't owe me that at all. But I don't know, man. Maybe I don't suck. That's literally what I said to myself. I was like, man, maybe we don't suck, because I was at that tryout, and these are all people, like, there are so many people that I watched on film that were at that tryout that were doing the crazy things that I see them do on film all the time. And I don't know, man, like, I thought maybe I didn't suck, you know? Which is a nice feeling. Like, I thought maybe some of it had paid off in some way, shape, or form. All the work and eating vegetables and getting fucking shit on for years in terms of like gameplay and stuff like that, all of it kind of got tested at that tryout, and I didn't utterly fail like I initially thought I did. Like, I legitimately thought I did a terrible job, and I guess I didn't. But that is, the jury is still out on that. We don't know what any of the tryout meant. I'm trying to get clarification on it for sure. I know that it's unlikely that I'm like on any list of like people who are on the radar, right, for potential Team USA stuff. I've been playing for 7 years, or going on 7 years. If people were going to pay attention to what I was capable of, they would have a long time ago. I also don't pop up on the stat sheet ever because, you know what? No excuses. I don't pop up on the stat sheet. That's what it is. But yeah, man, it was a huge moment. When I came to the realization that like maybe I didn't fucking suck, it was cool. But yeah, that's all. I don't have any deeper thoughts than that. I'm gonna keep grinding. Like, I gotta get back. Like today, it's been raining in Houston the last 2 days or whatever. But I was gonna train on Monday. Like today, we're doing leg day, and then we're going to play basketball. Like we play basketball for cardio, to work on agility, and to work on, guess what? You guessed it, fucking playing better defense, right? When I play pick up basketball, I go up against the guy who is the best scorer on the court on purpose. I know I'm gonna get cooked, but I'm getting cooked less frequently because my goal is to get better, right? But yeah, man, that's all I got. I don't really, like, it's nothing deep, nothing crazy specific, nothing wild or anything like that. Yeah, man, it was cool, man. I don't know. Oh, sorry, we got a message here. This is from, I'm not gonna say your real name. It's a great realization when you find out that you aren't worlds below people, that you can defend and score against people you might perceive as worlds better than you. Yeah, and you know, I gained confidence, or I was confident to even go to that Team USA tryout because I had played against Amanda Dallas. Just all right. I guess Amanda's watching. All right. Well, never mind. We're not gonna get personal. Never mind. No, I'm just kidding. No, but on the real though, man, like I legit. Yeah, like you said, man, it's cool to know you don't suck. It's cool. It's cool to know that it actually is paying off. It actually got me pretty pumped up. Which, you know, you have to, with all the losing that I've done in this sport, you have to figure out how to turn your losses into not necessarily motivation, but into positivity, right? Because if you just sit there and you dwell on the score and don't pay attention to how you got to that score, you'll never learn. Like, that's how I started watching film, right? Like, that's how I started watching film, to the point where I was like, yo, man, I got to figure out how these dudes are fucking kicking my ass every single fucking time. Even if nobody else wants to understand why we're losing like 250 to 10 to Cav, we need to figure it out. Like, I need to figure it out for myself. And I think I've come to the conclusion, same thing about Warriors, same thing about a lot of these other teams. And, you know, it's wild because I was at that tryout, and one of the Sam Houston players was just like, yeah, bro, like Ashton, I watch you play and I try and mimic the way you play. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? You know, like, I was like, first of all, kids, don't mimic the way that I play. Be better than me. Be significantly better than me. But yeah, it was one of those wild moments where it felt like that tryout was a test of all the information I gained over the years. And, you know, I didn't get an F, but I didn't get an A. Maybe I got like a C- or like a D or something. But I'll take not absolutely failing. And it's just a start. I Don't know what the policy is about trying out again. But I don't know where I heard this, but I guess there's a tryout after nationals, which is a ways away, and like a lot of time to get better. So that may be what is gonna go down. I know. I keep thinking about this to myself, and this is my last thought, and I'll get off of this, man. But thank you to everybody who's been watching me just dribble nonsense into this screen. But yeah, man, it is. Oh wait, Dallas wrote comments underneath this. Yeah, hope my injury heals up soon. Me too. I got joint practice this weekend. But yeah, it was yeah, man. It was cool, man. It was cool. It was wild. But yeah, still got to keep getting better. I have been I watch sports and I like anime, and there are sports anime that have these characters who have like these absolutely moronic perceptions on the life. Like there's this one dude, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know this. I post before every tournament now a picture of Almine Daiki. He's a character from Kuroko's basketball, and his whole thing is that he wants to start sucking at basketball so that it can be fun for him again, right? He says the phrase, "The only one who can beat me is me," and I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to that point. I really am. But yeah, man, I've been watching Blue Lock. It's good inspiration as well. So yeah, that's all I got. Final thoughts, man. It was cool. It was cool. I got to get back in the lab. Everybody's got to get back in the lab. One thing I hate about Team USA players, man. One thing I hate about Team USA players, they constantly getting better. I used to make this joke all the time. And I'm dead fucking serious about it too. They were like, yeah, man. They would come up to me like, yo, man, like all your workouts are like really pumping me up. They get me inspired to go into the gym, and I'm like, hey, bro, like how about we not do that? How about every time you see me work out, you eat a cheeseburger? You know what I mean? Help me out just a little bit. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for making this weekend super dope. There's a lot of people who said a lot of kind things to me, and I'm trying to get to the point where, and I tweet about this all the time, I'm trying to get to the point where I accept compliments. I'm not there yet, but I appreciate it. I have a warped perception of myself, right? Like I don't think, like for instance, like up until this tryout, I didn't think I was good, right? I'm trying to get better every single day, trying to get better overall, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the looks in general, and thank you to everybody who made this show possible. Everybody who tuned in and checked out this episode. I appreciate it. It's a lot of personal stuff. You know where to find me. Hit me up on Twitter at @TheAshtonJ. Hit me up on Twitter at FB_playbook. Hit me up on YouTube. Broke Boy Sports is the name on Twitch and on YouTube. If you follow me on TikTok, I post like once or twice a week. I do image of the week, and that's pretty much it. Thank you to everybody who watched this stream, and I'm out. I think I'm done rambling. I appreciate it.